Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's Ryan here. So I was just gonna go over the number one question everyone keeps asking me about these bikes. But first of all, if I can get you to hit the like button and subscribe, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to get notifications. It helps channel out. Helps me out. It helps things get going, and to keep things going, and hopefully end up getting get people deals if we can get a promo code thing going on for subscribers, and which gets you a percentage off and me a certain percentage towards my next Rise bike, which I would be getting another blade. So that would be greatly appreciated. But the number one question is 500 watts enough? I'm going to say for 95% of people, yes, it is enough. It's probably more than enough. If anything, if you're considering going up, at least you got to realize that 500 watt on this blade is 500 nominal, 750 peak. Allegedly, like radrover, radrunner, whatever, they say theirs is a 750 watt, but it's the same motor as this, but they're selling it at 750 watt, and that's at its peak. Rise is selling it as their 500 watt, but it's the 750 peak. So they're over, not Rise, but the other company is over selling, like over exaggerating basically the wattage of what it is, because that's its peak. So that could be basically like 250-ish, 500. If you were to go like compare it then to what they would consider this as. So they're not, Rise isn't lying about it. It's the other one's still 500 watt. This is 500 watt, and that's what keeps them in the legal zone. It's kind of a gray area from what I understand. And I'm going for Canada here. I don't know all around the world, but as long as it's 500 watts, that you're fine legally. Now, the 500 watts doesn't matter if it's nominal or peak, I guess. So I personally would rather get the 500 watt nominal 750 peak. And when people maybe see the other companies and, oh, the bike's a bit cheaper and I can get a 750 watt, you're technically getting the same motor and you're paying, like, they're upselling it, which they shouldn't be. I don't agree with. The big thing's your speed too. That's more what the police would be looking for. And if you're driving like an idiot, they can respect people on the trails, respect, just come slow right down and whatnot. Because you guarantee that if you hit someone on a normal bike and hurt someone, it's going to be kind of whatever, or they're not going to hurt it or care if you kind of bumped into them. The second, that could happen 20 times over. If it involves one e-bike, people freak out, it seems. So, and it just becomes news, which is kind of ridiculous. Now, if you go over the 500 watt, and the other thing is the 32 kilometer, 31.9 or whatever kilometer an hour you're supposed to do max. Now, that doesn't say you can't go down a hill, because you can bike faster down a hill than 32 kilometers on a normal bicycle. Today I hit 44 or 43, and you can do it effortlessly. And I use pedal assist 1 and just throttle here and there. So unless I'm riding hard, I use a lot of throttle. That being said, I've never ever been pulled over by the cops and nothing checked. There is no badging or labeling of your wattage. So if you buy this bike, this is the base model 500. It looks identical to the 1000 watt. The hub even drive, as far as I know, is actually the exact same casing here. So you can't tell by the naked eye. Now the controller's big, like double the size, the amperage, all that stuff. So now the thing is, if you get in trouble and something does happen with the bike, and you have over the 500 watt, let's say 750 or 1000, you're in a different category. You're considered more like a moped. So you're technically not allowed to ride the trails then, and you're not treated as a bicycle. You're supposed to get your license, like a moped license or whatever. You're supposed to have insurance. You're treated like a motorcycle, which I don't agree with at all. I don't agree with the maxing the power out for you. I don't agree with necessarily a speed limit on these bikes, as I've had to go over the speed because I got chased by two vicious dogs out on a country road, and it was as fast as I could get going to get away from these things because they came out in front of me. And I had my thing overridden, which will hit 39.9 kilometers an hour on throttle, on like a flat, but you'll hold a 39.9 for a while. So that being said, like a car, just because say on a highway it's 100 kilometers an hour, you're allowed to do, cars aren't maxed out at 100. I don't know why a bicycle has to be maxed out. And honestly, sometimes depending on what you do, to have that extra power is nice too. And there's people way different amounts. Where you live can be extremely hilly, so you might want more power. But like I say, 95% of the people, the 500 watt is more than enough, because it's rated for 300 pounds of weight, and that's on the bike. That's different than towing, because you got your foot pegs for your passenger, but this is different than towing that 300 pounds. If you're towing a trailer behind, 300 pounds is actually what they say the average person can pedal and like pull on a trailer behind, like a properly balanced trailer, bike trailer, and they're fairly comfortable and not extremely exerted with 300 pounds. So this bike, when my girlfriend and I go on it, we do like about a 58 kilometer round trip, and with both of us on it, and I am pedaling too, but it's about 45% battery left, and then so you could still keep riding. So that's 300 pounds of weight on the actual bike. So if we want to tow a trailer, you should be more than fine. If anything, if you're concerned about the power, I would upgrade the battery then, and to the largest battery, which I think is a 20 amp hour if I'm not mistaken. So if you upgrade, you're going to get more amp hours, which is more power, lasts longer. So as your battery wears down from 100% to say 60, you notice it's not as snappy and whatever. So it's not the motor, it's your battery. So you're lacking that amp hour because you're using it up. So if you have a bigger amp hours, you're going to have more power, and it's a better power. It'll last. You're going to get more kilometers out of it. One downside, I think, to it is, so on my bike, because it's 17 amp, it's the base, right here the battery comes out and it's flush. When you get the bigger battery, they actually stick out here and come down, which is not a big deal at all. It's just, it is a bit closer to your foot and whatever, and it hangs out that side. Now, that being said, too, is they have on this Rise bike, I think the geometry is pretty much bang on. If anything, I'd like a bit higher handlebar, maybe like an inch, just to get your arms up more. Because if you have short arms, you're going to be riding over the bike more. And you can see I have my bars kind of tilted back a bit. Because especially in the snow, you got to stay to the back more, I find, to keep that front up so you're not digging in the deep snow. But one thing with having the battery here is the weight between, so the motor here and the controller's up under here, and it's nice it's protected, but there's weight there, and then that battery is, I'm almost quote me, I think it's around 12 pounds for the 17 amp hour. Could be 13. It's around there anyway. But having it here is extremely good, I think, because it's spread the weight out. You can still get the front end up easy. You can maneuver this bike very easy. And if you have, let's say for instance, other companies like Super 73 and a lot of these other companies, you're seeing them look more like dirt bikes and motorcycles, and they're putting the battery up here. It's like it looks like a huge gas tank, these batteries. Well, these bikes are not like a motorcycle, they're light. Like the frame weighs like, I think the frame bearer with just the bracket bearing is like 14 pounds maybe, or 12 pounds. Like it's light, so it's not. So if you had that battery up here, you have all that top heavy weight now. So you just added 10 pounds or 12 pounds way up top of the bike, which makes that it makes this heavier and more unbalanced with having that there. And it's not like people think, well, motorcycles have that for their fuel tank. Well, they also have a massive motor underneath, which is steel and pure weight down here that's holding that down, and it takes that top heavy feeling away from up top. So that's something to consider too. Another thing why I went with the Rise is I didn't like the juiced bike. The juiced scrambler wasn't, I don't feel it's built quite right. It leans extremely far forward. If you look on the internet and see how this frame comes down here to the tire, that angle, the juiced one actually drops right here and it comes down extremely on a steep angle. Then you have this big gap, but then they put their crank, because they have it come down so awkward, the crank sits on top of the frame. I've also heard from a couple of people that then they bottomed out on their bike, on their juiced scrambler, that the tire came, when the suspension compressed, it got caught up in the frame because it comes so close and it hits, and they've actually had them lock up inside, and you gotta like, they're buggered to get out because it jams everything up. So that's another thing to consider. Weight is another thing. So these are about 62 pounds, and it's enough weight. Like if you need to, depending on your living situation, if you're in an apartment and it's stairs, 62 pounds can be a lot of weight to lug around. So when you see some of these bikes have front wheel, rear wheel, or dual drive motors and stuff, and double batteries, it sounds amazing. And I was looking at those. But that being said, they're like, some of them are like 102, 104 pounds with two batteries, with two motors. That's a lot of extra weight alone right there. And then you're fighting two motors to pedal, that resistance. That's another thing. Your power consumption is pretty extreme, I feel. Now, to go to 1,000, you are going to be sucking the juice back pretty quick. And that's part of it. It's like, if you want the power, you're going to be putting the juice through it, so your battery's going to get eaten up quicker. I've never driven the 1000. I want to. I want one. I want to see what it's like, but I also would like to see what this bike with the extended battery, like a 500 watt, is like with the extended, and just feel the difference and let people know. But we'll see what happens here. So like I say, for most people, I'm gonna say 500 watt is more than enough. It's hard to give a range because people weigh different. They're they're tall, they're short. Also, people ride different. If you're on the throttle and barely pedaling, or just using pedal assist maxed out, you're gonna go through battery. If it's a nice summer day and you're just out for a cruise doing like 22K and don't mind pedaling a bit, You know, like my girlfriend and I, it's 300 pounds on the bike, and like to do almost 60 kilometers and have just shy of half a battery left. I think that's extremely good. And that's the base model, 17 amp hour, 500 watt. So it's kind of what you want in your type of riding. And another is legalities. Like I said, the cops have never bugged me. The only times they said something is they wanted to check it out because they liked it and just ask questions. And you're lucky too with the Rise, because you can't tell the difference between those, like 500, the 750, the 1000, because of no labeling. There's nothing for them to see. So if you're kind of wondering, like, if it's a cold winter day, let's say it's minus 20 here or whatever, or minus 28 with windshield, I'm out. If it's deep snow and I'm hitting the throttle a lot, you can count about, it probably works out if it's like I'm breaking trail or snowmobile trail, you could be up to 10% battery loss on a 17 amp hour in the cold with heavy usage. So 10% for 10 kilometers, it can be your 15. So at 80%, you'll probably be around 20, just over it. But that's given her, and that's a lot of throttle. So, which I recently just got an action camera thing, so I'll be doing riding videos. I'm just kind of getting it figured out. I forgot to purchase one of the camera holders for the chest, so I need to get that in, and can show you more videos of that. But I just think for the majority of you guys is the 500 watts more than enough. It will get you around. I can get in the summer, if I'm cruising on cruise control or just cruising with just pure throttle at about 24 to 25 kilometers an hour, I'll get at least 35 to 40 kilometers on just like road riding or like chip stone trail, and that's not pedaling. I don't take your battery below 20% if you can. I have a few times I just don't, but I charge it up every single time right to 100%. And this one's at 75 or 100 or just over 7,500 kilometers. And the battery has not degraded in any way. Same with my other Blade, never degraded after 5,800 kilometers. It seemed the same. Even when I went from the 5,800 kilometer bike to this brand new one, this one felt a bit tighter, obviously, because there's none of the K's on it, but the battery and stuff all felt kind of the same. Like, I couldn't notice a big difference that way. So if the power's your big thing and the 500 watts, upgrade the battery, if anything, I would think. And you're legal. You know you're within it, and you're not going to end up with something you can't use, and that's risk. But some people don't care. And personally, like where I live, no one's ever hassled me, nothing. So I don't really care at the same time. But I just went with what I knew, and I knew the 500 watt worked, and is a good price. And I just kind of wanted to see if it was just a fluke where I had a great bike the last time too, or if this is the product. And it's a great product. And it's pretty much like I had that frame issue, they warranted it, and they stood behind themselves, or their product. And I thank Rise for that. It took some time, but you guys have to realize they don't necessarily have this stuff. I had to wait for this to come off the line, and they had to pull this frame off the manufacturing line for that run of Blade bikes. And they're not right. Not everything's right there. And like I said in other videos, there's a worldwide shortage because there's such a high demand for these bikes, and not just the Blade Rise. I mean, e-bikes in general and bikes. And so there's limited supplies, and COVID going on, people not working, time changes from dealing in different countries. It's kind of a kind of a mess, I guess you could say. But if for most people, I would go with that 500 watt and the big battery, like I said, and you're legal, legit. You should have no issues. And if anyone gives you an issue, you know, you're not going to be in crap, or you just say, you know, I have issues with, the only person or people I've had issues with is people on horseback, and they just seem to always get all up in arms, and you're not supposed to have this bike on these trails, a dirt bike. Well, no, it's not a dirt bike or a motorcycle, it's a bicycle that's assisted. And 99% of the time, they're not actually supposed to have the horses on the trails, but I don't care. Like, to each their own. I just like seeing, like, you see older people out on these e-bikes and stuff. It's great to see all these people getting out. Now, I have never yet seen a Blade, Spark Bikes Blade or Rise Bikes Blade yet, besides the one that I own. I've actually never even seen one on the internet for sale on Kijiji besides the one that I owned. And I could have sold that bike over 10, 12 times at least that day or that weekend when I put it up. And so the bikes are 1,999 Canadian. I put on I sold it the 5,800 kilometers. It needed tires and stuff, and I sold that thing for $1,650. And then I got this bike. Well, I pre-ordered. So they hold your value. So if it's not maybe what you expected, or you don't use it as much as you want, or say you just, times are tough and you needed to flip it, you're basically going to get your money back out of it. And I've seen other bikes, not this particularly, but other bikes like it on the internet, and they're still like, they're selling for the same as what used as what they're selling new, pretty much. So I highly recommend these bikes, but the 500 watt, I'm going to say go for that with the extended battery. It's a little pricey. It's $200 extra, I think, plus taxes, but that's the heart of your bike basically. And you know, I think that's well worth it. And I guess if it's money is tighter or you didn't quite budget for it, just don't go out for your $2 coffee every day and save your $14 every week and save for a little bit. And it's, I would think, worth the upgrade for most people. So I hope this helps everyone a bit. And I got another video I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to be trying something out. Hopefully it works. And yeah, I'll try and answer any questions you have. And again, I don't work for Rise. I'm not affiliated, not paid, nothing. I just know how hard it is to find a decent e-bike and information on it, because any reviews you actually see is usually someone test drives it and puts 40 kilometers on and gives their opinion. Well, that's not a review to me. That's, you test drove it. It's great and all, and it gives you feedback because it's kind of what directed me towards the Rise Blade, but at the same time, I'd like to see kilometers in real world time and usage on a bike or anything I buy. And hopefully it makes it easier for people out there. And it's a Canadian company too, so trying to get the name helps get the name. I want to get the name out there for people, and they do have a great product and they stand behind it. And if you have an issue, just work with them, and it's not going to be that day. Don't expect it to be instant. You are not the only person out there that has questions, whether it's, you know, they got to get back to anyone just inquiring about purchasing, questions about the bike, warranty, anything. And there's only so many of them, especially with COVID. But like, they looked after me. They got the new frame. I rebuilt everything. And I'm happy. And like I said before, that frame I put thousands of kilometers on after even the defect, and it was still going, and it didn't get really any worse, and I kept riding it the same. So it probably could have, but they stood behind it and they went on, you know, they leaned towards the error or caution, if anything, and they admitted that there was an issue. So what more can someone ask for? So hopefully that helps people decide. And like I said, any questions and whatever, I'll try and get to. And if I don't know the answer, I will try and find it out for you. So take care and have a good one. Bye.